Okay, so I just figured out something pretty cool. So I'm going to share it. I printed out a couple things here. Where is it? Okay. Well, I don't know if this is very visible, but I was okay. Well, I don't know if you can see that. It's like a cylinder. It's a cylinder. And these cylinders are depictions of the observable universe. And the way that they depicted these online was like cylinders. Like we can only see a cylinder of this grandiose cosmos that we live in. And then the top of the paper on there, like on the website, it said stacked scales. So I was like, let's try stacking it, see what it looks like. So I took these cylinders, right? And I started drawing them, and I realized they look like a spinal cord. So then I was thinking about, okay, well, so it's like I'm stacking these universes, or this is a construct to understand something. So it's like we're leading into something. At least that's the way I was looking at it. Or I'm leading myself to something. So it's like I'm going through the universes of maybe past lives and remembering who I am and what I love the most. And I had been looking a lot at the pineal gland, like way in the beginning of all this. And I noticed that in maps I see it's that back cluster. It like connects to your spinal cord right here. And it's like this piece. I don't know if it's your medulla oblongata, something like that. I think that's what it is. In any case, this right here is like, I think it controls your instinctual nature, you know, your primal instincts. And I've always had like a real affinity to that, because I think there's a lot of truth in instincts and following what you're feeling, you know? It's that feeling, and you know what to do. You don't have to think about it. You just know intuitively you need to do something, or something's happening. And that's pretty much what drives my whole life, is this. I mean, I look at primal instincts as being intuition, in a sense. You just know. And you don't know how you know. You just know. Answer without thought. Which is the previous video I just talked about, was like just going with the flow in the moment. So I started looking up. I don't even know how I got. Okay, right. Okay, so last night, well, 2 nights ago actually, I was in a panicked, weird moment, and they were like, just go outside. So I went outside, and I felt like I needed to leave my area, so I hopped in the car, and I drove, and right where the gas station is, right up the hill here, and I got out, and they were like, where are you going? And I was like, I don't know, I just need to go somewhere. And they're like, okay. So I tried to pump gas, and the gas thing didn't work. And they were like, just relax for a minute. So I was like, okay. So I sat in my car, and it's nighttime, and they're like talking to me. But like when they say scary things to me, or how I perceive it as being scary, about you need to move, like what I was just talking about, they said it again, and it resonated, this like uncomfortable feeling. So I got out again, tried to pump gas in my car with the same thing, and it didn't work. And they were like, just listen to what we're saying. And it's like sometimes they push me so hard, and sometimes I don't get it, but they they say that they can affect my current reality in a way that would not be helping my movement past that. So sometimes they say that they have to actually interact physically to prevent me from doing something, and I gotta listen to that because that's not what they really meant. They said, you know, what do you look out, because I'm sitting in my car because I tried it twice and I was like, oh, they're like, sit down. So I sit down in my car, and they're like, look outside the window. So I look through my, you know, the front window of the car, and they're like, what do you see? And I'm like, stars. They're like, isn't it beautiful? I was like, yeah, it is. They're like, then calm down. Because when you really just stop for a minute, you can see that everything is okay. I'm like, okay, you're right. They're like, now what do you feel? And I'm like, well, kind of confined. They're like, then get out of the car and look at the stars. I'm like, okay. So I get out, and I look at them, and they're like, what do you see? And I'm like, And I look and I see as if I realized that the stars looked even closer, and I could see much more. And I think I talked about that in the last video, and I should have just told this story instead of just honing in on my final result. But I realized that I could see all of the stars all in one area. And you know how you see star charts, the planetary or the you know, they're like two. Oh, I didn't even realize that they're like dual toruses. Holy cow! Like when they show the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere. What? Okay. Well, they're like two circles. This is wild. Finding out more as I talk about it. And I was like, yeah, it's like I can see it. And I don't really know what the third one is yet. Maybe the third is like all the stuff in the middle. I don't know. That's really interesting. Maybe the third is what puts them together. Anyways. So I'm looking at it. And that's when I was really looking around. And I was like, wow, you're right. This is really beautiful. I don't know why I panicked. And like, because you were thinking about what we were saying instead of feeling and continue on. Let the feeling move through you instead of fighting it and making a quick decision and saying, I need to get out of here. What we were doing was giving you what you needed to hear to have you see something that will help progress you. So whatever we say that freaks you out to get out of the house, know that we are trying to show you something that you're not listening to. So there's nothing wrong with your current situation. You don't need to go anywhere. We just needed to move you outside of your house, outside of your confine, so that you could see possibilities. And I was like, wow. And they're like, don't be upset with us. I mean, you can be, but know that it's always for your greater good, to help you realize something you might be missing. I was like, all right, fair enough. So I'm looking around, and they're like asking me, where do you want to go? What do you want? Where do you want to go? And I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, look around. And they're like, remember when we told you that you're attracting energy? Your positivity attracts energy. And the energy can be likened to electrons. And you already made the distinction, you know, the correlation between electrons in a cell, in an atom, and the electrons, in the stars in the sky. And I'm like, okay. They're like, so if you know what attraction is, then you know that, well, you can see when attraction's greater. You know, I imagine things fizzing or moving or spinning, or something is creating this magnetic field around it just by having alternating current, just by moving around a lot. And that's just the way that I perceive it. So that's the way they show me in my visible world. And they're like, now which stars are shining brighter? And I was like, okay. So, I see them and they look like they're blinking. Like if I just do a quick look, but if I really hone in on it, it looks like a spinning circle of like red and blue lights. Although I've seen others with other colors. So anyways, I'm looking at it and they're like, now which ones, where do you want to go? And I look and I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, look at the ones that are shining brighter. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to just pick one. And I'm like, I know that might sound selfish, but I really don't want to experience or close my opportunity by just saying that and that only. And they're like, okay, so where do you want to go? And I look in the center and they're like, you want to be in the center. You want to be in the center of everything, of all your dreams and what you really want or what you enjoyed, so that you can see it all. And I was like, yeah. They're like, look really close. So I looked in the center, and it was actually darker. And I couldn't really see anything. They're like, but look real hard. And I looked and I looked and I looked, and I noticed that I could see, once I like really looked at the darkness and I accepted that there could be something there, I started to see a star. Very, very faint, but it was there. And they're like, okay then. And you know, I think I'm now realizing that that one right there was probably me. And I'm already in the center. And I am able to view my entire world around me. Wow, I did not realize that till now. So they're like, okay, see, we realize that you want to be in the center, because you do want to see all this. But which stars really flicker a lot? And I honed in on one that was flickering the most out of all of them. And this one, it was like 3 stars. So it was like here, here, and here. Okay? And the one that was shining the brightest was here, out of this triad here. So they were like, okay, just keep that in mind. I was like, okay. So last night, and this was, I don't even know how I got to even looking at this. Sometimes just clicking around is the same thing as trying to break away stuff to find the truth. So I looked at it, and I found this triad of stars, and they're the moons of Pluto. They're the moons of Pluto, and one of the moons of Pluto is called Nix. It can be spelled either N-I-X. N-I-X is the way I saw it on the article. So I clicked on it because when I was I don't know, I was probably in 5th grade, and I remember trying angelic writing, and what I understood at that age was that you wipe yourself of the energy, you know, so that spirit can sort of move through you. So I was probably like, I don't know, 11, 10, I don't know. And I wrote, and I started just letting my hand just do what it wanted, okay? I think I asked it what my name was or something, I don't know. But I can remember that it was Nage Masix. Nage Masix. N-A-G-E-M-A-S-I-X. Now, as I got older, I realized that was a bit too long for some reason, so I changed it to Nix. So it's the first letter, and then the end of the other one, Nix. Now, when I looked up the word Nix, I don't know why I never thought of this when hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. I have this tattoo, and it says Nix on it. I don't know if you can probably see, it's a little bit of glare, but it says Nix on it, N-I-X. And the other star is my brother, and we're like, you know, I just like stars. I like stars a lot, so that's what I chose, because I feel like, you know, he's my brother, my soulmate. So I totally lost my train of thought saying that. Okay, yeah. So a few years back, I looked up the word Nix. I don't know why I didn't think to look it up before I got a tattoo. I was just so settled in that. Nix means to stop or to cease. So this whole thing about time, and I see it as really coming to a close and stopping, I'm like, whoa. I'm wondering about that being a correlation. And what I realized when I looked up Nix in the dictionary, or in the Wikipedia, has this planet, you know, it's a moon planet, I don't know, it's a body, and it's wild because this planet was not even discovered until 2000. I mean, this moon was not discovered until 2005. And I'm like, I'm kind of honing in on it. And they're like, see, they're like, everything that is written in your past, you need to go back and look through your records, and you will find that everything that you have experienced is actually creating your own world. And it's actually visible in the cosmos. Because the cosmos listen, and they take all the things that you truly believe and love, and they are making a home for you. And I was like, whoa, that is amazing. And the more I read about Nyx and the description of this planet, of this, I keep saying, maybe it is a planet, and this moon, and I'm like so into the nighttime, and the fact that I can see, I feel like everything that I'm experiencing now is just like more affirmation. Once I read this, I'm literally watching my own world created through my entire lifetime of what I decided to hold and not hold. And like like maybe a week ago, I had asked Spirit where I came from or who I am, and they said I was from a place. They said you were one of the first, one of the oldest souls, Spirit, well, one of the oldest souls in the entire universe. And I was like, really? They're like, yeah, you're one of the oldest souls in the universe. And I didn't really understand it then, but I feel like them telling me that was enough for me to understand this, because what they told me, I didn't get it until I experienced it. And when I read about Nyx, it's Greek for night, and it's a Greek goddess or personification of the night. It says a shadowy figure, Nyx stood at or near the beginning of creation. And it says Nyx was the mother of other personified deities such as sleep, there's names, hypnos, so sleep, and then there's one for death, and then there's one for darkness, and I was born out of chaos, and it says brightness, day. I gave birth to doom, destiny, destruction, blame, dreams, pain, woe, distress, evening, sunset, fate, retribution, indignation, deceit, old age, friendship, love, strife. Like, it's pretty much everything that we experience here. And this moon created all of that, gave birth to all these things. The mother of all these things. And the more I read about it, I'm finding out that my entire life totally reflects this. Because I keep thinking about what I want. And what I want is like light. I want the light. Like I said in one of my other videos, it was like I didn't want the light to feel so harsh. But then I realized that I just had to let it in, because I hadn't let it in for so long that my cells were uncomfortable. But when I really stand in it, I realize that it's all a part of me, and I have to let it in because it misses me. My cells miss being able to feel themselves, in a way. And it's like, maybe I missed it because I'm just experiencing the other half of me. I mean, this is just my story, but the more I really listen to spirit, and then even if I don't understand it, they bring me towards understanding just exactly everything that I want is everything I've already experienced, and it's actually there. It was created. Wow, you know? So wild. And the more I think about it, I actually, when I thought of that name, I mean, when I drew out that name, when I was that young, I think it was like 1996, because it was the year before I moved to Arizona, and then moved back to Connecticut, back to my origin. That's when I wrote it. And when I really look out the dates of 2005, it's like that was, what, 7 or 8 years? And in the Bible, it uses days as being either a day or it could mean a year. So it's like 7 days in a, the creation of time was made in 7 days. And then, right? Like, I'm seeing so many similarities in all of this in my own life. And then I'm so in the moment right now. Oh yeah, okay. And also it says in Wikipedia that the the information was discovered on October 31st. October 31st, 2005. Now, that means something to me because for a while now, I've been really going into All Hallows Eve. Halloween. And I did a lot of research on that. And even yesterday, I was looking up Halloween and like the Father prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Well, I was taking different words and saying it different. So it's like, hallowed be thy name, be thy name. And when I looked up thy name, be thy name, D-Y-A-M, no, D-Y-A-N, be thy name. I'm sorry, this might be hard to follow. Thy name, D-Y-N-A-M, actually is abbreviation for dynamic. And they keep telling me about having to move around and mix with different energies because it creates different dynamics. So I thought that was really interesting that I happened to hone in on that one word, that one phrase, be thy name, being be dynamic. Because hallowed means sacred. I wrote it down somewhere, but it's like sacred and I mean, that's what I feel. I guess I don't really need to look it up. We all kind of understand. So it's like, okay, sacred, and I'm honing in on dynamics, and then this says this was discovered on Halloween, and I love Halloween. And it's like, when I think of Eve, Adam and Eve, it's like Eve is sort of our mother, right? So it's like Mother Earth, but we're the atoms living on this earth. So it's like Adam and Eve, you know? Whoa. I don't know. It's like all these things. It doesn't matter where you look. Where I look, it's all telling the same story to remind me of who I am. And that I'm just a part that was split, or felt like it was split, from the one self. But it doesn't have to be viewed as, I was like, I'm leaving you, as a divorce. It could be looked at as like, it's so hard to see everything when you're only one little piece. And they were telling me just now that you separated from that only in perception, because you really wanted to experience it, the whole thing, but you also wanted to experience being a part of that whole thing. And that's why you are really into the moon and the moon pool and the looking glass, because it's just a curtain that you put up so that you could experience the journey, like from creation back to creation, like a loop. Maybe this is that whole loop thing. And then when I kept reading about Nyx here, I found it talks about the home of Nyx. And the home of Nyx is like, it says that the home of Nyx was Tartarus. Tartar. And that's really wild, because I had literally just been this is so crazy. It's like I'm telling my own story here. I'm finding out my own story. Ararat. You know Mount Ararat. And it's like spelled Ararat. So I like to flip words around, play with it, play with all the integrated parts to find more things. And what I found was like tar, okay? Now, when I think of tar, I think of origin, because the La Brea tar pits sort of sunk all of those pieces of history. And I was just going over this maybe, I don't know, like 7 pages ago, that I was writing out and playing around with these words. And I even wrote here, let me see if I can, I even wrote here, dang it, I don't know if you can see that. Tartar. And like that was then. This is now. This is where I'm at now. It's wild. It's so wild. And the fact this is called Taurus, so the whole Taurus thing, the two wheels, the two northern and southern, are like the origins of the loops of the two experiencing each other. Like, wow, right? So I'm gonna share something else. One more thing. I have been for a while now. I have been picturing the Earth, or we can liken it to a sphere, and I feel like it's like this. You got this here, and then you've got that. Okay. So it's like the northern and the southern. So you've got these two halves, the two toruses, the two circles, and it's like cups, okay? So you've got these two cups, and it's almost like we might think maybe they're separate, but they're actually not. Like, I'm really wondering if the moon actually is the other half, and it's just like, I've been noticing it, like it's getting closer, like that's what I perceive. And I'm wondering if it's like I'm literally experiencing the process of what's written. Coming back to your other half. Soulmate. So, also, I found something really interesting that I was discovering that day that I told you about the Tartar thing. And it's like God, right? Talk about God. The galactic ordering dynamic. I mean, whatever you want to think about it, that's like the big, that's one of the big concepts here on this planet. And I always hone in on that tabernacle. I see it as that's the tabernacle. And it's the two stars I told you about, and then the three in the Orion's belt. Now, I'm not exactly sure. Okay, yeah. So Spirit was telling me, and this was a while ago, and I should have shared it then, but here we go. They were telling me about flipping things over, the mirrors. You know, I've been really interested in the whole mirror situation, smoke and mirrors, and these are these would be. They told me to just draw it out. So these would be the two that I was talking about that are alongside this right here, and they were saying that this is the tabernacle, and these three right here. I'm not sure how I got to that being okay. Yeah, now I remember. Well, they were telling me to look at the one that spins the brightest that day, or that night, and it was one on the side. And they're like, okay, dog star, that's the dog star. And I was like, dog star, and they're like, yeah, I think it's Sirius, like Sirius Radio. It's got like a dog. They always have a picture of a dog of Sirius Radio, which is communication. And they're like, yes, okay. Now go look that up. So I looked that up, and you know, it says about it's the exact same star, which I mean, I guess I knew somehow intuitively. That's what Spirit's telling me, but I did not consciously know that, which is awesome. So it's almost like I'm literally communicating with myself. And so then they're like, okay, now think about dog. How many letters does it have? And I'm like, 3. So they're like, okay, now where do you see 3 in this picture? And I was like, oh, okay. They're like, then write it down. So I wrote it down. So I wrote down dog, and I'm not sure if this flipped, probably. Anyways, so I wrote down dog, and they're like, okay, now remember mirrors. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, now draw the same thing on the other side and flip everything around. I'm like, okay, so I did, and it spells out God. So it's like, what I inferred from that was that in this cradle, this cup of civilization, we see the order dynamic as this. I mean, it can be called anything you want. It doesn't matter. It's just a dynamic, you know. And what I've been following, you know, God. Okay, so it's like they're like, okay, now use your mirror theory to understand what you're really looking at when you look at the cosmos. And I was like, oh. They're like, yes, okay, you're doing good. So they keep telling me to stop second guessing myself and to just share it anyways, because this is what resonates with me, and it's very powerful, because everything that I am learning is, I can look back and I'm like, what? That's, what? It's awesome. And it's like, in that moment, I realize that it's like, whether it's up or sideways, it doesn't really matter where we are. It's like we are in a bowl, and this is the looking glass. This water, maybe I just perceive it as coming down this way, but maybe it's really flipped. Maybe that's what it does. Maybe it flips this way and then it flips that way. You know, I have no idea. I'm still figuring it out, but it's like there's this sheath. And since I see the ocean and things coming towards me and then moving away and then something new, it's like I am literally peeling away stuff. I'm literally peeling away stuff. And then also, like, to see that we're literally looking at our own reflection. And the more you peel away, the more you're going to be able to see, because you're remembering who you are. And then also what I found interesting, I think I wrote this down. This is like really awesome. I feel like I wrote this down somewhere. Well, the Bible talks about 144,000. Now, I tend to knock out some zeros because I like to separate things, so that way it helps me understand the little things that make up the big picture. So I hone in on different things, and I was like, okay, there's 6 numbers there, you know, and I'm seeing a lot of triads. I mean, it's not to say that like certain numbers got to be a certain way. That's just the way I interpret things, and that's how I work through it. So I take the zeros out. Wow, there's 3 zeros. I wonder if those are the 3 circles that I see. Whoa. Okay, and you've got the 144. Now, I wrote this down somewhere. Okay. Gosh, where did I see this? Oh, man. Okay, well, I'll just go with what I remember. I remember looking at this, and the actual website said something about 144 stacked universes, or stacked, what did I say? Stacked plates? Stacked scales. 144 stacked scales. Now, I can't remember if that's what is actually apparent in our in our concept of how many universes there are or whatever, but I remember it said it in like the, the HTTP where you write it all in, and it said 144 stacked scales, and I was like thinking about it, and Spirit was like, write it down, and just write it down, because it's going to help you remember that you wrote it down, and then you can make the correlation when you explain it. Of course, I didn't do that very well, but it is written on this. I did write it on this, I just didn't say where I got it from. So I wrote that down, and they were like, okay, so the fact that I can correlate that web indication to something that's written in a very old text, and then the fact that these are like the layers, like that's what I associated with, that these are the layers, these slats, these lenses that we remove or see through to hone in on the other side of what we're missing or not perceiving. And the journey's awesome. And that's why they said that's why they were talking about possibilities, because they said there's so many possibilities, the 144,000 possibilities, and it's like you're looking at a sheet, and there's like all these things that you pick from it, and then you say, okay, I'm good. Just like moving a picture on your screen, you're now moving that out the way, you're good with that, you're good. All your past discrepancies, you're like, oh, okay, I'm good on that level. Move another one. So then you move another one, and eventually you're getting towards what you really want. And when I think about the stacks, the 144 stacks, it's like we're literally going through universes of experience. Because this, to me, looks like a spinal cord. So it's like we're starting from both sides. Maybe we're meeting in the middle at the heart. And we're going through these stacked cylinders, which is a spinal cord, to get to what we love, and that's to be together with our soulmate, our other halves. And what's really cool is I just remembered that this tattoo here, that's a lot of glare, maybe that's easier to see. I got this tattoo a while ago. It's a hand pointing at the base of a spinal cord, and it leads up. And this is a brain, and this is a heart. And the reason why I got it is because I truly believe that the healing power of touch, you like touch other people's lives, can like resonate at the very bottom and work its way all the way up, because your intention was with your heart. You're thinking more with your heart. You're thinking with your heart and mind, with love and peace. And the fact that I just now realized, look at this, it's like I am literally covered in the marks of my own life, bringing me towards something that's actually being created. And they said you wanted to experience the cosmos, so you're going to move all the way to the last planet that I could have conceived in that moment in time, which was Pluto. And you created it. That's what you were learning. That's what you created. And they said you're just Saturn. They're saying you're moving through all the different experiences that you've wanted to experience, all these planets. You don't want to just be one, you want to experience all of it. So you had to go all the way to experience all of that. And it's like, And I really honed in on Saturn, which is Father Time, it's also known as Father Time, and that was a while back too that I was really honing in on, because it's just such a large structure, and the rings and all that, and it's like, they said, that's why your name is Nyx, because after the point of Father Time, after that time, you become whatever you want to be. Because you're beyond any confine. You're beyond all that. But you wanted to experience, so we let you experience it. We did everything we could in this universe to produce and create everything that you really wanted to experience. And you don't even have to stop there. You know, this is just bringing you towards the next moment. And you can just keep using your imagination to say, well, what do I want to experience next? And they're like, you're able to see the vapor and the colors within the vapor. You're able to see these things because you know that you are breathing in the cosmos. You wanted to experience it. And you didn't want to have to go anywhere else to have to do that. So we're bringing it to you. We're bringing this through you. They said when you remove the looking glass is when you can actually see it coming through your cell. Like, whoa, you know? This is my truth. This is my story. And I'm so happy about it because I was freaking out about anything that could happen. And they're like, that's good. Keep remembering that, because eventually you're not going to feel any fear at all when you think about it. So we're going to keep testing you so that you can remove more layers, because we know you want this so bad. So keep going. Keep that continuum so you can get there. But enjoy it. Enjoy the moment. That's what gets you there, is to enjoy, because that's what I really wanted to experience, was the process. They said that's why your eyesight gets better as well, because we know, your cells know, that that's what makes you so happy, is not just learning it or knowing it. You want to see it. You want to feel it. You want all those things. Okay. Wow. Huh. Wow. It's like that whole history thing. His story. Tell your story. Tell your history. It could be anybody's history. It could be anybody's story. Watch it unfold. This is awesome. We're all part of this. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for watching.